Hey everyone, John from ARTV. It's time for another episode of Ranked, my series where I take a band or an artist and rank all of their albums from worst to best, of course in my own personal opinion. And today up for discussion, we have the beloved UK band Arctic Monkeys. I'll be ranking all 6 of their studio albums from worst to best. I know that this is probably going to be a heated conversation for some, considering they have a very large and a very loyal fan base. And I know that it can be divisive, but they put out so many great records, I do consider them one of my favorite bands, and I really don't feel like they have any bad albums. So just know that going in. Let me know how you would rank the Arctic Monkeys in the comments section down below, and don't forget to drop a like on the video. If you're new here, then please hit that subscribe button, and don't forget to check out my top 10 Arctic Monkeys songs after you finish this video.
Tranquility Base, hotel and casino. Mark speaking. Please tell me how may I direct your call.
Let's not kid ourselves. The Arctic Monkeys don't have a bad album to their name. Tranquility Base, Hotel and Casino is a perfectly solid album, transitioning the 4-piece into a more reflective, jazz-like state with fewer rock tendencies. Whereas many bands opt to ditch the guitars and drums in favor of mindless programming, I respect that Alex Turner had something that went against the notion of commercialism, especially since they were coming off of their most successful album internationally to date. In the past, Turner's attitude was often very self-aware and humorous, so why is it that everyone suddenly decided to start taking him so seriously this time around? It's the mood of the music that fools people into thinking that the band is suddenly changing everything that was originally loved about them. The piano swells, steady rhythmic drums, and sparse but effective guitar and bass will most definitely turn the heads of longtime fans upon first listen, but don't take that as a sign to give up on the record. I fully admit that this one isn't nearly as engaging as their previous efforts, but also caution that this is a mood album to be played when you're looking for something slower and more reflective. Golden Slumbers has a washed out fuzz to its guitar that's really fun to listen to. She Looks Like Fun reminds me of the White Stripes and feels playful, and the title track Tranquility Base is one of the best on the LP, chocked full of skillful bass, rhythm, and funny commentary. People love to label music and call out influences, I'm guilty of that too, but I do think that the constant David Bowie influences that were levied against the Monkees was a bit unfair. Yes, the lead single 4 out of 5 undeniably has the prowess of the great Starman, but it's much more than that. Tranquility Base isn't a great record, but I feel it will be an underrated one as the years go on. Turner's look at, and even mockery of, the rock star life over more of a snail's pace is pleasant. Give it the time that it needs to sink in, and maybe you'll see.
She flicks a red hot revelation off the tip of her tongue. It does a dozen somersaults and leaves you supercharged.
There's not a ton to say about Suck It and See, which no, isn't sexual, it just means try it and see, you dirty-minded bastards. Anywho, this is a pretty straightforward throwback style record that's easy to play from start to finish at really any given time. It's a time capsule containing everything from library pictures, an intentionally confusing song inspired by the songwriting of the Beatles, to the lush Piledriver Waltz that's an absolute joy to hear. This and my next pick are very close in the running for their given spots. Just know that it was an easy decision to put this at number 5 since there's not an Arctic Monkeys album I dislike. I know this one goes a bit unnoticed in their catalog, and hey, I'm not 100% blaming you. That album cover doesn't exactly scream, "I need to hear this right now." But if you're looking to get more into this album, I suggest the floaty She's Thunderstorms, the Josh Homme assisted All My Own Stunts, or even the 60s tinged That's Where You're Wrong. It's not my favorite album by the Monkees, but there's still a lot to love here. It's not often that you see a band catch fire and dominate the mainstream with the release of their 5th record, but that's exactly what Arctic Monkeys did. The UK group went worldwide in a big way this time around, scoring their first US Hot 100 hit with Do I Wanna Know in the process. For some strange reason, I didn't feel much of a connection to AM when it first released, but that inevitably changed as I grew older and appreciated the variety of styles and thoughtful lyrics the album offers. The singles are all excellent, with the slick Arabella and the rock-positive Are You Mine leading the pack. Knee Socks featuring backing vocals from Josh Homme is quite wonderful too, in addition to some of the other deep cuts that often go underappreciated. I think selections such as Fireside and #1 Party Anthem saw the desire to evolve and possibly hinted that their next record would be a bit different. Little did we know. To sum things up, AM is an exciting listen still, featuring plenty of energetic endeavors, but also some of the band's most quaint and down-to-earth songs to date. My opinion of the album only improved with time, so I encourage you to swish around that wind, see how it tastes years later, and get back to me. A certified iconic debut has become more of a rarity as we pass the turn of the 21st century, but something about this band's cocky, confident, and loud start pretty much just had everyone's heads nodding in agreement. This was something different and special, and the sheer talent the young lads displayed as they rampaged through this 13-song album seemingly awoke something that had been dormant in the UK. Whatever people say I am, That's What I'm Not is still the fastest selling debut album of all time across the pond, moving 360,000 in pure sales in its first week. That might not sound huge if you're a US viewer, but think about how much smaller the population in the UK is. It was truly no small feat for a brand new band. Young electric waves of energy pulsate through this entire adventure, rarely stopping for a breath before smashing back into it. Jamie Cook's rollicking guitar playing set the bar high early on in the album, but never lets up as the rest of the band continue to help drive these tracks forward. Turner's voice still had such a thick accent at this point, striking the listener as quite raw, almost as if you're hearing a live performance on an album. Some of my highest recommendations go to Fake Tales of San Francisco, which intertwines a fun narrative with a jet engine musical mentality, Riot Van, which often gets forgotten about when people talk about this album, and also the pummeling lightning bolt from the Ritz to the Rubble. Obviously, there's other classics like A Certain Romance, Marty Baum, and I Bet You Look Good on the Dance Floor, but I'll spare you the long discussion for now. It's a debut to remember, and while many would rank it higher, let's keep moving on with my personal list. When Josh Homme invites you to record an album in the desert, you go to the desert and record the fucking album. The Queens of the Stone Age mastermind meshed perfectly with Turner and company, adding his nuanced little details and even backing vocals to much of the record. Homebug is quite frankly hypnotic, like watching a metronome dart left to right just in front of your eyes. The at times sludgy, groovy approach to music taken this time around worked like a damn charm, and that still might even be me selling it short. I'm clearly in the minority when it comes to not being in love with Cornerstone, but every other song here is magic to my ears. Opening with the slow burn of a sly grin that is My Propeller is genius, and it only gets better from there. Dance Little Liar is a grim depiction of cheating in a relationship, and Turner's attention to detail in the lyrics is just one of many things that makes it so underrated. Get ready to smile when playing Secret Door, a warm, inviting song with a chorus that somehow feels completely breezy and carefree, something I often long to feel. There's really a little bit of something for every kind of Arctic Monkeys fan on Homebug, from the bewitching single Crying Lightning to the artful closing moment, The Jeweler's Hands.
You're pulling her from a burning building or throwing her to the sharks. Can only hope that the ending is as pleasurable as a start. The confidence is the balaclava, I'm sure you're back from them straight. And it's wrong, she can hardly wait.
Many try to argue that the first album you hear from a band is the one that you're most biased towards, especially if you held said record in high regard early on. While that theory does hold up for me sometimes, that's not the case with Arctic Monkeys. I heard their highly buzzed about debut for the first time in early 2007, having already heard and loved the single I Bet You Look Good. Unlike many, I felt like the band were only getting started there and truly perfected their sound on their ingenious sophomore effort, Favorite Worst Nightmare. It's the only Monkees record I've ever given a perfect score to. Not a single song here disappoints in any way. You can bounce to the clap-along worthy Old Yellow Bricks, headbang to the manic This House is a Circus, or simply sit back and appreciate slow-lit fuses like Do Me a Favor. The intensity and brilliance of the first 4 tracks alone makes the album worth checking out, but just know it doesn't stop there. Oh, and here's another reminder that the album's finale, 505, is one of the greatest songs of all time. Just you try and resist that vocal climax. I dare you. Favorite Worst Nightmare is the antithesis of a sophomore slump. Expectations were high, but no one could have predicted the heights this young band would reach the second time around. Thanks so much for tuning in to another episode of Ranked. That's a wrap for this one, but let me know, what did you think of my personal list and how would you rank the AM albums? Let me know with a comment, and of course drop a like on the video while you're here, and consider supporting the channel on Patreon at the top link down below so I can keep making content like this on a monthly basis. If you didn't catch my top 10 Arctic Monkeys video, then please tap this card right here, go check that out, or you can see an Arctic Monkeys review I did right over here. All of my socials can be found linked in the description down below, along with all of the episodes of Ranked if you need to catch up, and other than that, I'll see you soon for more right here on ARTV.